everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from the rain-drenched streets of Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast,
I'm Frank Feldman.
and I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to talk about our experiences of being small children coerced into baptism.
Babies. We were just babies.
No, Mormons don't do babies.
Okay, well, I think of 8-year-olds as babies. They're just little creatures.
No. In fact, Mormons are very proud of the fact that they don't baptize infants.
Right. They wait until they're full-grown 8-year-olds
Yeah.
before they
Who can
before they really get their
decide-
hooks in you.
decide for their own self
Yeah.
at the age of 8.
Yeah, we were good at deciding things at 8. I know I was.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that.
Yes, we are.
But first, we have some things happened in the world this week, Dan.
Did they?
Religiously
Oh,
speaking,
are you sure?
more or less.
All right.
For example, do you remember the Texas Attorney General who waded into this whole thing back in December in Killeen, Texas, where a school nurse had put up a sign, a Charlie Brown Christmas poster.
Oh, yes.
That said, "For unto you this day is born in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord."
Right.
And it was like Linus, if I remember right.
Right, or
He's the
something,
one
yeah.
in the Charlie Brown Christmas that like ends up reciting from
Fucking
Luke or whatever.
whiny-ass Linus. Always. He's that Christian friend that we all
Right.
kind of hated, but okay, fine.
So it's this Texas Attorney General
Right.
who is fighting for religious freedom in the schools.
Meaning freedom to, like, indoctrinate children in the schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except now he's fighting against Muslim prayer.
Of course he is.
That was very much self-initiated by a group of students
okay.
at a school in Frisco, Texas,
Yeah.
where there was a spare classroom that had kind of just started being used for all sorts of things, apparently, including teachers just going in there to grade papers. There was Buddhist meditation that was happening there, and the Muslim students were slipping away for a quick 5-minute, one of their daily prayers.
Yeah.
Do a quick 5-minute prayer. They knew which way was
East.
Mecca,
Right.
and they would do their prayer. Everything was fine. Well, the Attorney General's office caught wind of this, and without really even checking in on any of the facts or details, because this guy seems like the kind who would care about the finer points.
Yeah, right.
He jumps in and he says, "It appears that a prayer room is dedicated to the religious needs of some students, namely those who practice Islam."
yes.
Right? A recent news report indicates that the high school's prayer room is apparently excluding students of other faiths.
Oh, no. Oh.
And the school district is just like, fuck you. I know. They're just like, you really don't even know what you're talking about. And I really don't have any problem with the idea of students, again, if it's kind of a multi-purpose space, just kind of slipping away.
Yeah.
They're
They
just
can't.
doing their
Lord
own
knows
thing,
they don't.
dictates of their own conscience,
Yeah.
and slipping in a little prayer.
Lord
Who
knows
cares?
They can't. It's not like they can feel comfortable just, doing it out in the open
Right.
in front of everybody.
Right. They used to go home. They
Right.
used to get in a car, drive home to one of the homes that was nearby, and all pray there. Right. And it's not even like there's that many Muslim kids.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think if it's the kid's conscience, it's not being led by adults. There's no sense of coercion.
Right.
And they're not.
It's the difference between supporting someone's religious beliefs and encouraging a religious practice.
Or officially endorsing.
Right.
Yeah. Like putting 10 Commandments out on the school grounds.
Right.
Bad.
That's bad.
That is bad.
Or Linus.
Or Linus. That one was bad too.
It's wrong. That's not
inappropriate.
Okay. Right. Because as we know, and as is obvious from this, what's the guy's name? The Attorney General? Is that who it was? The AG?
Yeah.
Anyway, as is painfully obvious, if he instead had said, if he had heard that someone had put up a poster that had Linus and a Quran verse on it, or something, he would have flipped his shit.
Absolutely.
He would have dropped a nut about that. But the fact that the fact that it's Christian means that it's okay. I mean,
right. No, this is
not that
again,
I would ever accuse a Christian of hypocrisy, because that's actually obviously never happened in the face of the planet.
They never wade into hypocrisy. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is his name. Quit trying to fight for religious freedom.
Yeah. Well, or just understand
it's just another case of it being so evident of what these people are really about.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's absolutely obvious.
And they're not even smart about it.
No.
That's what kills me.
Yeah. Be the least bit clever. even just the tiniest bit.
Yeah.
And you're okay.
Yeah.
But no. You're not clever.
No, not this guy. Right. Not Bill Paxton or Ken Paxton. Oh, Bill Paxton.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah.
He was not a good actor.
No, but he was a likable fellow.
Okay.
There was something likable about Bill Paxton.
Okay.
You don't agree.
I'm probably in trouble because I said he's not a good actor. I'm sure that there are people out there who believe
Excuse me, did you ever see Tornado or whatever it was called?
Yes, I did.
Twister,
that's the one.
So good.
So good.
That was such a good movie.
Oh my God.
Everything, all the details of that movie.
Everything.
Including
the cow flying.
Holly Hunter or Holly Hunts or what's her name?
I just remember Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Holly Hunter. Actually, I like Holly Hunter.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Hey, I don't know if you were downtown this past weekend, but it was a nightmare.
It was. Yeah.
Salt Lake City.
No, there were people everywhere.
And one of the reasons, nightmare, it could be fun. Just if you're trying to get a table at a restaurant, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons was March Madness.
Woohoo!
For those of you who don't live in these United States or don't pay attention to the sports ball as much as Frank and I do.
College sports ball.
We're very into it. This is the college tournament of basketball that happens at the end of the basketball season every year.
Uh-huh.
And it is a thing, people, it's a tournament. So
yeah,
the top teams play against each other, and the winner of each game go advance to the next round. There's a bracket. And that's the big thing, the bracket.
Yeah.
Well, not to be overshadowed, because here's the thing. This is also the season of Lent.
Oh, yeah.
So there are all these people enjoying their March Madness, enjoying their basketball, while others are, giving up something, are doing penances,
whatever. Is this a story of giving up?
No, this is a story of
NCAA.
No. It's a story of co-opting that bracket for Lent Madness.
Oh.
It's apparently been going on for a few years now.
This makes me sad, Dan. I'm already sad.
Lent Madness. Let's see.
It makes me really just kind of dry heave a little.
Does it?
Ugh.
It's a bracket that you can fill out. Reverend Tim Shank, the rector of the Episcopal Parish of St. John the Evangelist in Hingham, Massachusetts.
Oh, there you go.
Rector. Damn near killed her.
I was waiting for it. I thought
you thought you'd made it through without it.
Yeah.
No, fuck you.
We'd passed through the.
Here's what he's done. He's created a bracket that everyone that people can vote on. It involves like saints and sort of heroes of the Bible.
I thought it was going to be like things that you can give up. Like there would be like chocolate versus pretzels.
And eventually it wheedles its way down to the top thing to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which every
Which
year
would probably
is
be coffee.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's a hard one.
That's a tough one.
That's a shitty thing to give
many,
up.
many people.
Or what else could you give up for? People give up maybe being mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Being rude at the office.
Chocolate.
I think chocolate has to be the biggest one.
Yeah, chocolate's
It's so obvious.
the scary one.
Or some sort of candy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to give up gummy worms.
Porn. Although you have to start by admitting that you look at porn.
Well, that's why you have your private lint and your public lint.
Right.
You have the one you're working on and the one that you're just going to kind of show off to the world about.
What did you give up for Lent? Chocolate. But what did you really give up for Lent? Porn. Did you really? No. Looked at it last night.
All right, I gave up eating chocolate while eating porn.
Right. While viewing porn. You can eat porn. I don't know how. Try it. Anyway, you got your bracket full of you got Joan of Arc on there.
Oh wow, yeah.
And Handel apparently is on there. I guess maybe for writing the Messiah, I suppose.
So how does one progress to the next bracket?
So all of the people who go to lentmadness.org can read up on the various saints, and then they vote on who wins each round.
This is so
They advance
stupid.
to the saintly 16, the elate 8, the faithful 4, and then the final 2 battle off for the golden halo. Whoever wins. I have no updates as to who's currently winning.
Who's where in this whole thing.
Somebody,
if you have a perfect bracket, does somebody give you a lot of money?
you get a.
Does Warren Buffett give you?
He gives you a billion. He gives you a billion blessings.
The Lord
will give you a billion blessings for a perfect bracket. It's a very exciting time. Some other guy actually created an American Jesus Madness bracket. This is a blogger named Zach Hunt, who's a Christian, but he's a very liberal Christian.
You should, if your last name is Hunt,
Yeah,
you never have a name that ends in a K sound.
yeah, that's a great
Why
point.
did he do that? Why did his parents do that?
Yeah, well, it's better than Mike.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no, that was better.
this one pairs off like Donald Trump against, quote, anything that is remotely Christian, to see who wins there. This guy is not a fan. He's a very liberal Christian.
Okay.
And there's a lot of tongue in cheek.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. Dan, this is just.
It's just,
we should have our own bracket, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, he pairs off Christians supporting the refugee ban against Jesus the refugee. Oh, see what he did there? Apparently it's bracket time.
I love a good bracket.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Well, there you have it, Dan. It's been a good week, Dan.
Yeah? For
A
whom?
good couple weeks, I guess. For rivers.
Oh?
And personhood.
Oh. I have some personhood. I don't have a river.
The first, which I hadn't heard about, and when I started reading the article, because I intentionally went to go find the story that I'd heard on the news about this river, or rivers rather, that had been given living human status by the government that that nation, right, where the river runs through. And I had heard about the Ganges.
Oh yes,
and the Yamuna.
Oh yeah, the I think Yamuna River,
okay,
which that's the one that flows past the Taj Mahal.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
They're both considered in the Hindu faith as being goddesses.
Correct.
Right? And as sort of in an attempt to help clean up these rivers.
Oh, and they need cleaning up.
To prevent industrial pollution.
Sure.
They have been given this living human status.
Oh, okay.
And they actually...
So you can't pour anything into them that you wouldn't pour into a person.
Basically, yeah. They've been... The government is... so there's 2 top state officials who have been appointed legal guardians of the rivers.
Oh, dear.
And they're going to represent their rights in court. Right?
Okay. I don't know everything about India. I've been there once. It's not, but I do know you're going to start telling industrialists what they can and can't pour into a river. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work.
I don't know either. However, so I go looking for that story, and I stumble onto another story.
What?
From New Zealand.
Oh.
Of the Wanganui. I'm sure that's how it's pronounced.
I'm positive
river.
That you're right about
which is on the North Island. Isn't that what they call that? Yeah. It's in the North Island of New Zealand, right?
Sure.
And it has been considered sacred by the Maori. The Maori, thank you. And so that had happened as well. So two different nations, all within about a week of each other, come up with the same solution to protect these rivers, which is actually granting them this humanhood, right?
You know what? They respect rivers more than they expect the life of a fetus. Hashtag anti-abortion.
Damn. But isn't this crazy? Like, what?
That's nuts.
I don't...
Maybe that's the only way to get Christians to actually care about the environment. Start granting them human personhood.
Well, see, here's the deal.
Grant the rivers, grant the mountains, grant, you know what I mean? Like,
we've given corporations personhood.
Right?
So why not? You know?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that they're not people.
Well, the same argument for corporations.
Right, yeah.
Right. It's kind of crazy town because, like, in one way you're like, well, I guess that's clever, you know?
Well, it's like
if it works, it works.
Right.
But how cuckoo crazy to have rivers that have that kind of legal status.
Yeah. I've talked about being on the Ganges before, but I've apparently floated on a person.
Well, at least a goddess.
A goddess. Yeah. I've taken a boat on a goddess
who has no, voice, who has no ability to go to court.
Right. Well, but now she does.
Now she does. Now she has.
She can sue you.
Guardian.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm all in favor of this, especially considering how many people I have seen taking the holy dip in the Ganges, and just me thinking, oh, you don't know what's upstream, kids.
Right.
That is not healthy for you.
Right.
You could die.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go.
We'll have to track these stories. I don't. The one in New Zealand, it didn't sound like it was kind of the same dire situation as the Ganges and the Yamuna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they use these rivers not just. I mean, yes, they swim in them. They do their holy dip in them, but they also use them for like doing laundry, and they do it. They put their children into the clothing, and they launder bedding for hotels in these rivers. So like anything that goes in there directly affects everybody.
I see, and here's the thing. If they do consider these rivers goddesses, how has it gotten this bad? How did they let it get this bad?
Because when people are getting rich, their religious beliefs start bending. I think literally every human being, like, as soon as they start like seeing real profit, doesn't, like, whatever their religious beliefs were, start making more sense to them. With more, they suddenly have new interpretations.
Not a real goddess, maybe, and who knows what she likes?
Right. She wants our country's economy to do well.
Right. And she actually really likes industrial waste.
She's super into it. She's kinky.
Sewage.
She's a kink.
Loves it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, who am I to judge what she likes?
Yeah. I mean, these other guys are dumping human remains into it. Well, I mean, human ashes constantly.
Right. How's that not bad?
How is that okay? But
she loves that.
Dumping heavy metals from my battery factory into it. That's not okay. Get your act together, people. I'm going to take us to Sydney, Australia.
No, like, but isn't that what these courtroom arguments are going to like devolve into?
What?
Is one person's interpretation of what this goddess might want,
Right,
versus someone else's,
right.
And like this guardian is going to be able to say, no, I've talked to her and I know.
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
this is clearly a one of those scenarios where they are giving this one person, they're finding a legal way to give one person the power to say you can't pollute,
right?
And then the company will have zero recourse,
right?
They're just trying to take away options.
Maybe.
I think
it's a funny development. Anyway,
it's strange and of questionable of questionable legal
yeah, I don't think it would work
sense.
here, but
yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Although it worked for the corporation, so
well, there you go. God bless.
But they had the lawyers.
Australia. There, so there was a commission, or the Royal Commission into Child Abuse, has made a large inquiry. They have into child abuse in churches across Australia. They recently had posted said that apparently 7% of Catholic priests working in Australia between 1950 and 2010 were accused of child sex crimes. Now they're looking at the Anglican Church. Apparently, between 1980 and 2015, they say that that 1,082 people had lodged complaints about incidents of child molestation by Anglican priests and other workers within the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I don't think any of our listeners will be surprised to hear that the religious folks that there was rampant child sexual assault within a church. That just seems to be par for the course, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that that a report has now come out, and these are, of course, people. This is only people who have filed sexual assault claims against the church,
right,
in that 35-year period.
And you have to know that there are a lot of unfiled.
That
claims.
is a tip of the iceberg experience right there.
Yeah,
that can't be 10%.
I wonder if anybody's ever looked at that. I'm sure there's a number out there of, kind of what percentage normally report.
Guessing at that, yeah. I mean, because you got to think, A, a lot of the kids just won't tell.
Right.
B, once they tell, it's up to the parents to decide if they want to get
through all of that.
Right. And then it's like, they not only do they not want to like go put their child through any sort of trial or whatever, but also, guess what? They don't want to get their church in trouble. So they don't want, it's their priest.
Yeah.
They love their priest.
He's such a nice guy.
So kind, and he does so much for the community. What's one or two?
And he likes little Jimmy so much.
Oh my God. Yes, they've identified, the complaints identified 569 Anglican clergy, teachers, and volunteers, and another 133 alleged abusers with unknown roles in the church. Yeah. So there's some figures, there's some numbers for you.
Those are numbers.
It's not good. It's not good. The Catholic Church, apparently, I don't have any figures for the Anglicans. The Catholic Church in Australia apparently has paid $276 million in compensation to thousands of victims since 1980.
Wow.
Which actually almost seems low to me.
What was the number again?
276 million. That's Australian dollars. I think that's somewhere in still in the 200 millions in American dollars.
Huh. Okay.
Yikes.
Well, what can you do, Dan?
Don't put your kids in church.
keep them away.
Or at least don't leave them alone with the priests.
If there's some sort of priesty guy, don't.
How about this? Don't leave your kid alone with any unvetted adult,
Right.
that you don't know personally and very well.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Do these people have to go through background checks?
Priests?
Yeah. Yeah, you hire in a new priest. Do you put him through a background check?
I don't know the process. I've never hired a priest myself. I would. I know I would, but then even then, like until they actually have become a priest, where would this have started? It starts when you already are a priest, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and this all goes down to it all boils down to whether or not people are reporting, which is the whole crux of the thing, isn't
right?
it? All right, Dan.
Yes.
Back to the schools.
I love it.
And back to West Virginia.
Mountain Mama.
West Virginia, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Yeah, much better than East Virginia or North Virginia.
Anyway, there's a West Virginia school district that has been holding weekly Bible classes in their elementary schools.
Oh, yeah.
And a kindergartner is suing. That's one precocious little kid. Actually, the parents are suing on the child's behalf, of course. This weekly lesson has been bought and paid for by a nonprofit. The article doesn't really say which nonprofit, but it's all creationism crap.
Yeah.
In elementary schools, they've been holding 30-minute weekly classes, and
this is during official class time.
During school.
Yikes.
Right? And actually, the middle schools have been holding 45-minute classes.
Well, they can handle more. They're older.
And have you ever been to a middle school? They need more. They need
more.
Those kids are little assholes.
Nightmares.
So it's these are scripted interpretations. That's in quotes. Scripted interpretations.
Oh my God.
Of Bible stories that advance creationism, and that advance the biblical account of Jesus' death and resurrection, with no legitimate secular purpose. That's according to the lawsuit. The one lesson asks students to, quote, imagine that human beings and dinosaurs existed at the same time.
Imagine that.
So picture Adam being able to crawl up on the back of a dinosaur.
I love
lesson said.
That shit. Because even if we were to say, there's new science. Ta-da, we've discovered that human beings and dinosaurs coexisted, which they didn't. But let's just say that they did.
Right.
Suddenly they can climb up on top of them?
This is the laying down with the lamb, Dan. There was no,
I guess
animals
it's the Garden of Eden, right?
So Adam
okay.
On the dinosaur. They were just pals.
Great.
He and Eve, continuing on, he and Eve could have their own personal water slide. Wouldn't that be so wild?
Water slide? What?
I don't know how they get water slide. Slide, maybe. Like you're up on top of a giant and you're going down the tail, maybe.
But a la Fred Flintstone at lunchtime?
Yes. Like, maybe you could say that. But you're not going to be able... Like, where's the water slide?
Oh, my God. What?
Where's the water?
It's peeing.
It's a pee slide.
It's a pee slide.
We had those at my elementary school.
Oh, yeah,
not good.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Wouldn't that be so wild?
It would be wild. You are correct. It would be just as wild as the Flintstones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the school district, however, Dan, is saying that this family doesn't have grounds for a lawsuit because they can't show harm because the child is a kindergartner and the classes don't start until the first grade. The parents are trying to get out in front of the problem.
Right.
And make sure that their child doesn't have to go through this. Right. And the school district is like, you have no harm.
Yeah, the school district's like, oh, yeah? File this next year. Ha ha, we win.
Right. But I also like that they're like, we're not harming your kid.
Right, exactly. You can't show harm. These other kids can show harm.
They could.
For sure.
We're in trouble. They actually have grounds.
With them. But you do not have standing.
Go away.
To bring this suit. Dummies. Oh, my God.
Was there anything else? So, and apparently the school district is really trying to rely on this whole fact that the classes have been paid for by a nonprofit. So there's no public funding going into this.
Then it's totally
Except
fine.
for the fact that it's in a public school,
Right.
and using school time, and there's also doesn't seem. I mean, a child could opt out, but what about the? There's.
It has to be a non-official thing. The school can't offer it.
No.
And it has to be an opt-in scenario.
An opt-in, not an opt-out.
Right. Like all of the, there's so many. I just love this. This law, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't listened to our show very long, you may not be aware of the fact that the law regarding religious education, religion in schools, is clear and settled by innumerable lawsuits, which have made it very clear what can and cannot be taught to children in public schools.
Yes.
However, boy, do they like to just jump right back into those waters.
I know. I mean, the law seems very settled on it, and yet the people in these areas,
Boy, they like
just
spending their tax dollar money on lawsuits, on being sued, on defending their bad decisions.
I love that the school district is going to try to fight instead of just going, "Oh God, we're caught."
Yeah.
We got caught. Okay, shut it down. Shut it down.
No.
It was good while it lasted, everybody.
Shut it down. Nonsense.
They're going to fight.
Of course they are.
What fucking idiots.
Well, that's why we have a FUFERF. That's why it exists. Like, basically, the entire reason it exists is because they keep doing it.
And this is a Freedom from Religion Foundation
lawsuit.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
They just...
Yeah, and there were a bunch to choose from this week.
Speaking of laws,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take us to Texas. Back to Texas we go for Texas House Bill 4260, which I'm sorry to say probably won't pass. This bill will not become law.
Oh.
It's a good bill, though. It was introduced by Representative Jessica Farrar out of Houston. The bill is titled the Man's Right to Know Act.
What?
It proposes things like there are several parts of this law. For instance, it proposes a 24-hour waiting period for men who want to get a vasectomy, or who want for men who want Viagra prescription or a colonoscopy.
Wait, what?
Mirroring the 24 hours required for women to get an abortion.
Okay.
Cute. It's cute. This is, so there are rules and procedures that basically are all about forcing women to have all sorts of things. This bill would also require men who seek those procedures to get a booklet called A Man's Right to Know.
Oh, okay.
That contains, quote, medical information related to the benefits and concerns of a man seeking a vasectomy, Viagra prescription, or colonoscopy. This is a mirror of an actual pamphlet that women get. They're lucky enough to receive, which I downloaded, when they want an abortion. That basically is just about making you feel like shit for getting an abortion. It's nothing. It's of dubious at best science. Most critics say the science is wrong.
Oh, okay.
In much of it.
Oh.
And it's all about making sure that
it might be wrong, but it's sanctioned by the state.
It has the
good.
state. It has the
That's
Texas state symbol. It has the symbol for the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, the Texas Department of Aging and Disability Service, and the Texas Department of State Health Services.
That's horrendous.
All on there. It's endorsed by all of them. Yes, it's very interesting. Like, for instance, one of the first pages, your baby's development. And the first thing under it is fetal pain. And it starts with a very tricksy little trick. Newborn babies are able to feel pain, it says.
Okay.
I don't think anybody didn't think that newborn babies are able to feel pain. That's not what we abort. We don't abort newborn babies.
That's murder.
That's murder. We know that babies develop the ability to feel pain while in the womb. In consideration of the potential for fetal pain, Texas law currently limits abortion to under 20 weeks. Right. So the correct interpretation of that is, if you want an abortion before 20 weeks, you're probably clear in terms of fetal pain.
Good.
But that's not what they want you to think. Like, just the phrase newborn babies are able to feel pain at the beginning, I think is meant to sort of be the first thing you read, and then you skip on and you think and you associate. You don't realize that you're talking about a newborn because this whole thing's about fetuses.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just so stupid.
Oh God.
It's a very manipulative, ugly pamphlet, and it's made to make women feel bad. So this Texas representative has introduced this other bill to sort of point out how stupid it is by applying it to men.
Right. Well done.
Yeah. Oh, the bill would also ban unregulated masturbatory emissions.
Oh, okay.
Because, that's valuable genetic material.
Absolutely.
So emissions, quote, emissions, this is from the bill, I think, quote, emissions outside of a woman's vagina or created outside of a health or medical facility will be charged a $100 civil penalty for each emission and will be considered an act against an unborn child. Men contribute to the non-creation of children too, and we need to put a stop to it.
Oh my goodness. It's just, wow. Finally, somebody's doing something.
Finally, someone's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
She's yeah. I don't think her male colleagues are going to find it as funny as I do.
There'll be one.
There'll be a couple snickers. She says she doesn't expect her colleagues to necessarily get the point of this, but she's hoping to reach some of their constituents.
Yeah.
And point out that
absolutely
there are crazy, stupid, religious-based laws in Texas regarding abortion,
right?
And that maybe that those aren't very fair.
They're not.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, if you kids have anything you'd like to say about abortions or about Texas laws or about anything that we say on this show, you can let us know. You can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Indeed. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. Request to join. It is a closed group.
It is,
however.
Indeed.
So you have to be let in. That's why you have to request to join.
Yeah. Yeah, there's rules and shit. But it's great. It is delightful.
Dan.
Yes, sir.
Do you like baked goods?
Oh, only if they're frosted the way this cake is frosted.
Well, I think that you need to, this is actually going out as a warning. To our listeners.
Oh,
Dan,
yeah, that's a good point.
That there are baked goods that you may want to avoid. Because they could have some unintended consequences.
Oh.
There are intended consequences of cake.
Haunted cakes.
Such as, cake. This is delicious. And it's making me happy.
Right. Or hooray, my birthday.
Yes.
Those are positive consequences of cake.
Yeah. This, you may not like the consequences of this cake.
This is a pastor who was responding to an email through a Periscope thing.
I read a testimony today about an owner of a bar who was gay, and this is crazy. Now, I'm not saying this is going to work for you, but some hookers that were in his bar got saved. And they got saved because one of the guys who used to hang out there got saved, and they baked a cake for the owner of the bar, who was gay and very adamantly anti-Christian. And they basically prayed over the cake. It was an anointed cake. And they made the cake and gave it as a gift. And when he ate the cake, I know this is strange. This is Sylvester's testimony. It's not mine. The power of God hit him while he was eating the cake. And he went back to the guy at the bar that had given it to him, that he knew got religion. And he said, "What the heck?" He said, "I had a weird experience eating your cake." And he said, "Well, that was the presence of God." He ends up leading the guy to the Lord and baptizes him. And when he gets baptized, the guy gets delivered. And the spirit that was working him got broken off. I'm telling you, it's a story.
Well, I'll tell you where I agree with him. That is definitely a story. He has definitely achieved a story.
I heard a story. You cannot deny it, Dan. You don't make fun of the fact that he just told a story.
Traditionally, doesn't the word anoint mean to just smear with oil?
Yeah, it does, actually.
So, I don't know that I want an anointed cake. I mean, I've heard of olive oil cake. I've had olive oil cake. It can be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you could probably whip up some kind of frosting.
I love
that had some oil in it, maybe.
What I love about this is that he is talking about this, and he can't hear it, of course, because he's too deep inside of it. But I hear that story, and to me, it's the same as hearing, some African witch doctor talking about a concoction that he's made that's going to give someone extra strength in their battle or whatever.
Well, yeah, and absolutely, just it's magical thinking at its best.
Yeah,
but also a fantastic detail of his willingness to just pass this story along is that it's not even his own story.
Right? Yeah.
He just kind of heard it.
He wasn't there. He heard about it from a guy who told him about it, the thing, and there's a bar, and what... Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm so glad that you have your little faith-promoting story that you can't even personally attest to.
Right, and not only that, but, he actually says the phrase, "I'm not saying this will work for you."
Right.
Great. So, really useful stuff there, fella. Thanks so much.
We got some oily cake.
You got an oily
that's been prayed over by some hookers.
And apparently,
is that what he said?
Yeah, it sounded like that. And apparently, it makes you not gay anymore. Which,
boy,
let me tell you something. That's an impressive cake. It's not a good cake, but man, it's impressive.
Well, I think that there is a message here for all the bakers, the Christian bakers who refuse to bake cakes for gays and lesbians. Is just pray over the cake. Just
pray over it.
Pray that it might be a devil, or rather a demon revoking cake.
Yeah.
That whatever,
they are missing opportunities
demons
to ungay these people.
Yes, at their own wedding.
At their own wedding. What a trick.
That is what they should be doing.
That is it. Cast your spells on your cake. Although, frankly, I feel like we're going down a dangerous path, because then they're going to want to put some ingredient in,
as long as it's a good cake and everything's edible.
Right. I just don't trust them. This is why, even though I think, yes, every bakery is...
because you saw that horrible movie with the shit pie?
Yeah. I don't trust... if I were gay and having a wedding, I would want the most gay-friendly baker in town. I don't care if they're bad.
Right.
At baking.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a Christian. Yes, they should be required to bake for all weddings if they bake for any weddings. But I'm not going to trust them.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, yes, you're making a cake for Matthew and Jonathan.
Right.
Don't do anything wrong with the cake.
Right.
Because shit's going to go down. There's going to be something gross in that cake. And you're never going to know about it.
Right.
It won't make you sick or anything, but they've done something horrible to that cake. Well, speaking of cake.
Oh?
I don't know. I'm trying to segue from cake to children.
Kids like cake.
Kids love cake.
That's an obvious transition.
There you go.
There you go.
You know, Frank,
Oh?
do you recall being a young Mormon boy, which you and I both were?
Yeah.
Although I do like the notion I think it was Dawkins that first talked about the idea that he just takes umbrage with the idea of a Christian child or a Muslim child, a Mormon child, whatever, because children can't make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So anyway, you and I, young boys in the Mormon church, and I guess what brought this up for me was that I was talking yesterday with a friend of mine about the notion of Mormons believing in an age of accountability.
Right.
An age at which the sins start sticking. They don't count when you're young.
No.
When you're a little one.
Because you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're doing.
You're
I think
innocent.
any reasonable human would say, no, of course we don't know. Of course you don't know what how your actions are affecting the world as a child.
Of course not.
But there comes a time in every person's life when they are accountable for their sins.
When you fully understand the effect that your actions can have in the world.
And you have control, enough control over yourself and
your past tantrums
and stuff that you now are accountable.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that 8 years old is that sweet spot where you definitely know what you know better, and you can totally control yourself.
Oh yeah. No, I remember, yeah. It was amazing. I just, you just kind of really grow up.
Mm-hmm. You look back at all the 7-year-olds in your life and you're like, oh, you kids just don't understand.
Yeah.
You just don't get it. But that's okay. You will.
Yeah. The third grade.
Yeah.
Isn't that about third grade?
Sure.
Yeah. I was on top of things in third grade. Like
second and third grade, right?
Oh yeah, all my chores were always done. Nobody had to ask anymore. Because now I knew
you were a responsible adult.
I knew that my sins. Which, by the way, I love the concept of these kids being able to sin.
Yeah,
right. Because what's available to them,
right?
I remember being 7 and 8 years old, and specifically being 7 years old. And having this last minute thought, a week before my 8th birthday.
Right.
Of because I was actually baptized on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
The first possible moment I could be, I was baptized. And my parents were so happy about that.
Yes.
But I remember that last week and kind of leading up to it and knowing this whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to interrupt your story just to give the quick background that the Mormon belief is that once you're baptized at 8,
right,
all of your sins are everything up until that point. Everything up until that point is washed away. You have no sins.
Well, and that's what happens
previous to
at
that.
Baptism. Is that your former sins are washed away.
Right. So if you convert as an adult to Mormonism,
right,
and you're baptized, your sins are washed away. I mean, I think that's a sort of standard baptism thought.
Yes, that is. I believe that's true. But I remember having this thought a week before my baptism of man, I got to get it all in.
Yeah.
I got to get this is my last chance to sin, because in a week I'm not going to be able to sin anymore. And I'm sitting and what sinning, quote unquote, so-called sinning, could I possibly have been doing?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It's not like you were running out grabbing some meth or whatever.
Right.
Quick, man, where's the nearest head shop? I need to score.
I mean, I guess a 7-year-old can steal. You know? You could easily steal from your brothers and sisters,
sure,
or even from your parents, or from the 7-Eleven.
I went and took my buddy's bike once.
Oh no!
And I just took it around the block. I don't know why. I guess I was experimenting with thievery, with the idea of it, because I took it immediately back to him and then cried and said the devil made me do it.
Oh, Dan.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I young.
But you knew that card.
I knew that card. Yeah.
The adversary got to me.
Yeah, the devil made me do it. Oh, my God. But yes, I had the same. It's so funny. Here's the thing, and I think we've sort of mentioned this before a long time ago on the show, but here's my experience that I remember. Sitting down, before you get your before you're baptized, your bishop, who's not a bishop in the Catholic or whatever sense, he's the lay.
It's a guy from the neighborhood.
Local. He's your local pastor. He's the pastor over your little church. He sits you down. You're 8. You're 7.
Right.
Latter half of your 7th year. He sits you down. He says, "Now this is a very serious decision. Mm-hmm. You know if you choose to be baptized, all your sins will count after this, and you'll be blah blah blah, and you'll be a member of God's church, and you'll be responsible, blah blah blah," and like scares the bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
At 8, and you're like, oh, okay. And here's the thing: I was a very serious child. I looked at him and I was like, oh fuck, maybe I don't want this responsibility. Maybe I don't know for sure. Maybe I'm not positive about this. But in that situation, what's a kid going to say?
Right.
You're right. This is pretty serious. I'm going to give it some more thought. No.
Right.
You're 8.
Right.
Your parents are waiting outside the door.
And they've been making a big deal about this.
Since you're 0.
Right. Well,
they've been talking about it. They've been, and you've been singing songs about it in church. It's important. And yeah, everyone knows you're going to get baptized.
Right.
This is not a choice that you make as an 8-year-old.
Right. Yeah. What kid says nope? Nope.
I'm not ready for this.
And it's interesting because it's like, but you are old enough for the mind fuck to start.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It worked real good on me.
And so, and this is, Mormonism has a lot of the, we've talked about it with like the temple, right? Where you're given this option, right? To stand up and leave before the whole ceremony really gets started.
Yeah, you're already there. You've already changed your clothes into the temple clothes. You're there in the room with a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Who are all going to be in the temple.
Yeah. You don't have like the hat and the sash and the apron on yet. But
right.
You have like you're all dressed in white. And and you've gotten far enough into the whole thing that you feel like you've seen some things.
Yeah.
That you already like. They're asking you to keep it all secret.
Right.
Right. And if you can't take that commitment, then you should leave right now. Right.
And what's funny is when on your first try, the first time through, no one's told you anything about what's going to happen.
No, you're not prepped at all.
So it's like you have. Can you commit right now to keeping stuff that you don't know is about to happen a secret?
Right.
If not, you need to get out.
Right. And you're just like, huh. So it's this total like you're being told that you're making a choice, that you are opting in.
Right.
But you don't have a real choice. The social pressures are too strong at this point.
Well,
right?
Exactly.
Like, I've never heard of anybody getting up and walking out.
No, of course not.
Right. And it's the same thing with these 8-year-olds. Like it's this the mind fuck begins right there of you've made this decision.
Right.
And it's a decision that maybe you didn't have the moral strength or just the strength of character to stand up and say no. So you feel even like this weird guilt about it. Like I remember feeling really weird and really pressured into agreeing to be baptized.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course the way the Mormons do the baptism, you get into the white jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Your dad gets into a white jumpsuit or whoever the dude is that's doing it. And then they have a small service just for that.
Uh-huh.
Often there are other kids being baptized the same day, depending on where you are.
Sure.
Here in Utah, there's other kids being baptized the same day because there's too many. There's too many children here.
Okay.
And not enough baptismal fonts apparently. And then you do the whole immersion thing. So you go in, you get splashed,
right?
A little prayer,
right?
Everybody else sings while you're changing.
Yeah. I got my own.
Yeah,
it was on my birthday.
Wow.
I was pretty special.
You were so special.
They open up those accordion doors.
Oh my God, it's so stupid. It's so
the Relief
dumb.
Society room. I think ours was off the Relief Society room.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what room that was immediately adjacent to. Yeah, I think it was the Relief Society room.
kind of the baptismal font is tucked away. It's hidden away until it's of use.
Yeah.
And then it's like sort of down in the thing, and there's usually a mirror so that you can, like a mirror up above that's angled so that you can look down on the thing happening. And
right.
It's but I mean, I think the point that we're discussing here is 8. That's our accountability age. We're accountable at 8.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like I think about an 8-year-old. I got nephews who are that age.
Yeah.
Them little shits can't do nothing.
No.
They don't know anything.
No.
You can't sin. Like, okay, obviously, I don't believe in the concept of sin anymore.
Right.
That's not a concept that's meaningful to me.
But like, to use their terminology.
But I mean, if one of my nephews went and like did something kind of awful,
right?
Just because kids do. Kids
do. They're little shits.
They set their house on fire. Or they kill a bunny or something. Just something awful.
You're describing a little. You gotta watch out for that kid. Who's this kid you're describing, Dan?
There are many kids have done horrible things. But do we hold them accountable the same way we hold an adult accountable? No, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm actually opposed to in this country we have all these, young people who are tried as adults. That's a thing in this country.
Right.
A 14-year-old tried as an adult because of the severity of the crime.
It shouldn't be the severity of the crime. It should be what is their emotional maturity?
Right.
Do they understand
somehow testing at a 21-year-old level or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Severity of the crime is irrelevant. They're still a child.
Yeah.
The whole concept is, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe the part of the problem is that our religions in this country are fucked up about children. Like, they think that kids are somehow accountable. You think about...
But no, I mean, like, I can't speak for every Mormon out there or every Mormon that I've ever talked to.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the Mormons that I know, like, if I were to pose the question to them of, does a 9-year-old, right, or an 8-year-old, specifically, do they have the capacity to fully understand these quote unquote sins or their crimes, right? And that they would admit that no, of course, a child's sin, even though that they're accountable, wouldn't be punished by God in the same way as a fully grown adult. Like, they understand.
You would hope they would understand that.
I think they do, but it's not presented that way to the kids.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm concerned about here is just the brainwashing and the indoctrination.
Right.
And this technique to coerce these kids into lifelong Mormonism.
Or whatever. Yeah. I mean, Schopenhauer was talking about this. Schopenhauer talked about the idea of, like, if you take, these formative, that's the word I was looking for, years, and you present this one series of beliefs. You've got children who are primed for belief.
Uh-huh.
And basically, they're just there. All we're doing is feeding them information, pumping them full of information. Right. Sky, blue, birds fly.
They're looking
dogs
for
bark,
a system by which to understand the world that they live in.
Right. Beware of that dog. Beware of dogs you don't know. Right. Grown-ups strangers are danger, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, we just pump kids full of information. They are primed to believe and not primed to be, like, skeptical. And if at that moment in their development, we give them another set of beliefs, and not only do we talk about these beliefs, but we talk about them in these somber tones and these very serious things, and we never present the concept of being able to question them. As a matter of fact, we present the opposite. These are the unquestionables. These are the things like, yes, go ahead and question dinosaurs, but you never question this set of beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, that's called brainwashing. Sure feels like it. And I mean, at very least, indoctrination, which when you type the word indoctrination into Google,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought, a bunch of stuff would come up from religions about how to positively indoctrinate your children into their religion. But no, the first things that come up are like indoctrinating children into Nazism. Indoctrinating, like it's considered a bad thing.
Yeah.
In most cases. Like indoctrination of children, not a good thing.
Right.
Even Christians are like, don't indoctrinate your kids, but do teach them about Jesus.
Yeah. Well, it's different when it's your own thing.
Right.
Right. It's not gross indoctrination. It's not scary.
Right.
If it's Jesus.
If it's Jesus.
Because Jesus is real and he loves it. It can't be bad if it's for real.
Right.
Right.
And we have the same thing. We think, here, the Christians have all these articles about how the liberals are indoctrinating our children into the belief in things like evolution. And no, that's teaching them about a thing. But, they think that, they accuse us of the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's very interesting. You've got, I don't know all of what surrounds a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's one of those things where it's like a ceremony that sucks you in to this world. Just same as a Catholic confirmation.
Yeah.
You take them at a tender age and you give them a ceremony that makes them feel special, that makes them feel like, that makes it personal to them.
Yeah.
In a very, very extreme sort of way.
Yeah.
And even if you don't put all the weight on it that was put onto us for our baptisms,
I guarantee you. Yes, of course.
It's huge meaning.
Of course, the same weight is being put on Catholic kids and Jewish kids,
right?
And evangelical kids to be saved.
Yeah.
That's sort of an opt-in thing. But boy, you haven't been saved yet.
All that Jesus camp
I don't know.
stuff.
I don't know how the conversation around being saved really works.
Right.
But it seems like it's this really important thing in at least kind of these Western religions and faiths, to get these kids to opt in at kind of the first possible moment.
Yeah.
And you're right. Celebrate it. Make them feel special. Make this decision be an event.
Yep.
And Mormons will do it with, a weird giant tub of water and Kool-Aid and cookies. And
and you and I saw a Baptist baptism when we were in Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, that's right. That thing was freaky.
Yeah, that was weird because their baptismal font was like 4,000 feet above the floor. It was on the ceiling. Like I didn't even notice.
It was on the ceiling. It was high above the what do you call it?
The altar or
stage,
whatever.
the altar,
Yeah.
the podium.
Yeah,
right?
we're all sitting facing the podium. I had not noticed that there was a font up there
built into this wall.
Yeah. It was weird. And then suddenly, they're like, we have a baptism, and everybody and all of the people on stage turn and look way up high. It was way up there.
It was
like 25 feet up.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. That would have been a cool way to be baptized, I have to say.
Yeah, unless you're acrophobic. That was, I do worry about those who are afraid of heights, because it was it's a plexiglass
Imagine
font.
If you're aquaphobic.
Well, I'm just not getting baptized. That's all there is to that. I'm done.
And afraid of appearing before audiences.
Right, yeah, exactly.
A little stage fright there.
Aqua, agora, phobic.
But how big's your tub at home?
I'm not going outside. You can splash a glass of water on me from the sprinklers or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird... I guess it's just... And here's the other question, and I wanted to bring this up just sort of as a final thought. Mm-hmm. You had told me a story about your friend who's not a believer, right, whose child wants to get it baptized.
Right.
And that person doesn't necessarily, you said you didn't know where that was coming from, but I mean, we hear this a lot. I've heard this from many people whose, their peer group is all doing this fun thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a bar mitzvah because my buddy got a bar mitzvah and got a bunch of money for it and all these presents and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. I wish I could do that. But, as a 13-year-old, I knew that was not available to me. But I could see an 8-year-old being like, I want that.
I want my special day.
Right.
I want my... Yeah.
So what is an atheist family to do when a kid says, especially, and this is especially the case,
right,
when this family was part of a church,
right,
and then leaves that church,
yeah,
realizes that they were part of a bunch of bullshit,
mm-hmm.
But now they've got a kid who was already partially indoctrinated,
right,
who went to church, who was given these the songs to sing and stuff,
right,
and now all of their friends are going through this and probably making a shit deal of it at school.
Well, you're leading us towards a scenario, Dan, that is always really awesome for the two of us, which is we don't have kids,
right?
So chiming in on these things is always
fun.
But nonetheless, I talking to this friend, I just sort of posed a couple hypotheticals. I was like, so, what happens if you just let this happen, right?
Yeah.
Is that ultimately such a bad thing? Because like, if you're still who you are at a certain, and this kid is super bright, like at a certain point, she's probably going to smell the bullshit, right?
Sure.
Or even if she doesn't, at least, she's part of an accepting, welcoming family that just loves her, which is important.
Right.
And then I was like, but also, what's wrong with you as the parent just kind of telling her right now why you left? Why you and her father don't go to church anymore?
Right. Not only that.
And why that's important to you. What's wrong with that? I don't know what's wrong with that.
Right. I don't either. And here's what your first scenario of allowing the child to just have the baptism and fuck it, it's all mumbo jumbo anyway. But here's one possible danger that I see in that, which is to say so obviously neither of the parents will be doing the actual baptizing.
Right.
The parents will not be interviewing the child for baptism, which there will be an interview.
Right.
Which means that these parents are allowing someone who doesn't believe as they do,
right,
to influence their child,
right,
and to have an authority over their child.
She was like, she said, "Listen, if this thing goes forward, I have rules, and one of my rules is I will be sitting in on every Sunday school class that she attends.
Mm-hmm.
I will be in the room and I will be listening to what she's being taught.
Right.
This is not going to be a child just going through the Mormon system."
Right.
And all the weird little influences and the little snide comments that adults will make to kids about their own parents.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Right. Well, but here's the other thing, and I think that this is the more salient point.
Yeah.
If we as a society are going to say it is okay for a parent to let their kid go through this baptism because they believe in the shit, surely it is okay if you don't believe in that shit to say, no, I'm sorry, we don't go to that church, we don't believe that. And so you can make that decision, when you're an adult.
Yeah.
You can you can re-explore that. They will let you get baptized as an adult. That's not a problem.
Right.
But you're not going to do that as a child.
Because you are impressionable.
Right.
And the influences that are going on in your life, you may not fully understand them or be able to navigate them.
And you know what? I do want to celebrate you, and I want to celebrate your growing up. So we're going to have a party for you, and it's going to be your 8 years old hooray party.
Right.
Just like what your friends have.
Right.
And instead of a baptismal font, we're going to have a slip and slide.
Your ochinera.
Yes, exactly. But no, we're not going to do a religious thing. that because my job is to teach you how to think and not what to think, and you'll figure all of that stuff out later.
Yeah.
As an adult,
and if
when
you
you're
decide
smart.
to loop back around and be Mormon, that's your own thing.
I will support you, and that's fine. But we're not doing that now. And I don't think anyone could object to a parent taking that stance with their own child.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, friends, if you have thoughts, if you were indoctrinated in a fun way into a bunch of crazy, write to us.
Let us know.
We'd love to hear about it. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can always tell us your story with your voice.
Ooh.
Call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click like.
And while you're on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we'll put you in.
Yes, indeed. Hey, thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thanks to Mackenzie for all of her help on Facebook.
And thanks to Amy, Sarah, and Danny for their fine work as moderators in the Members Only Lounge.
And thank you, our dearest of listeners. Or
yeah,
yes,
you personally,
you
are
you sitting right
listener.
there.
Don't tell the guy next to you, but you
are our favorite.
Are our favorite. Thanks so much for listening. We sure do like it when you do.
Bye.